Full spectrums. We're back for week 5 of our podcast, guys. We are live now on YouTube. Pumped up, guys. Today's going to be a little bit different. Today, got the white coat off. We're going to be doing some demos, live demos falling off of last week. We got Omar, Director of Manufacturing. He's come a long way to get to this point, and we'll get to talking about that too. Obviously, Bennett, our Assistant Director of Training, who hired this young man, found him, freedom from the streets. Just kidding, but not really. Anyways.
pretty much.
We're going to be doing some demonstrations, guys. Hash holes today, which our drops are $60 for all our medical patients, $72 after tax for everybody else. But hash holes a very, very delicate process, and it takes a true professional to make this thing happen. So as you're going to see right here, Omar is going to be rolling this thing out, guys. We want to encourage, the sesh. This is exactly what this product is intended for. It's not for your rookies, your newbies, right? These are for your veterans in the cannabis industry. And if you want to, impress somebody at a party while being, extra top notch, you don't want to waste anything when it comes to all the high quality product that goes into a hash hole. Seriously.
That's true.
So it's definitely a experience. So don't enjoy it by yourself. Do it with some friends. But if you guys pick up one of these hash hole kits at one of the stores, these are the items that it's going to include. It's going to include a 3.5 of flour, so a 8 of flour. It's going to include the 1 gram jar of Nero, and that's the hash of the gods. And then it'll also contain a pack of papers, that is the King Raw papers. Omar will be using the elements today because they are the pink for breast cancer awareness. And then there will also be a glass tip included in this kit. So like Joaquin stated, it is a $60 value. If you are not a medical client, it's going to be $72 after tax. And then the batter that does come in, the Nero batter, is going to be the Banana Kush batter. So Omar's going to get started on rolling this. And if you want, pay attention, and we will be giving out some steps, some tips and pointers on how to roll this hash hole at home.
So exactly, guys. Yes, what is a hash hole entirely? Omar is going to break this down, exactly what he's going to do from the top to the bottom. Omar, we're letting you send this thing off.
All right, I guess I'll go ahead and start with the paper. Usually I'll go ahead and kind of roll it a little bit, kind of get the shape so it's already curved. It's easier to roll once you already kind of roll it like so.
And do most of the time you pick a big paper for it?
I like king size. Yeah, that tends to be my go-to. For hash holes, depending on what you want to go for, I tend to do maybe like a 0.5 to maybe like 2 grams. It just depends on what you're smoking or how you're smoking. And then I'm kind of just eyeballing it right now. Honestly, I have no idea how much green I'm putting in this one. I like to go ahead and put a little mountain in the center. You are going to push this down a bit and then square it off. The reason you do a little bit more of a mountain on top and push it down is because that's where you're going to end up putting the snake. And you do want green to be all around your rosin. So I'm going to go ahead and get out my Nero.
And you heard him refer to there the snake, so that's going to be the center line of rosin right in the middle as he's getting ready to deliver it of that beautiful heaping mound of flour there.
Yeah, and there's a little crevice in the middle where it'll lay perfectly in, and how he explained, the green will just wrap around it. And if you watch, this
Nero really is the perfect consistency for hash holes. Pretty much just kind of roll it. You can even do it right here. Just kind of make a little snake real quick. With rosin jams and stuff like that, you won't be able to do this. You'll have to kind of just lay it down straight in the center with like a dab tool or something. And then hands are a little sticky. Just kind of unstickify them. Kind of do it from like the tips of the paper. Pick it up. Make sure you do it nice and slow, gently. And you want to make sure you get that rosin completely covered in cannabis. Just kind of fold it over, almost like a taco hot dog. Get the green on top. Make sure it's there. Push it down a little bit. Push it down from both sides and on top. You want to push down and roll. Flower is going to fall out from the sides. That's okay. With these glass tips are a little bit skinny, so you do want to kind of push out a little bit more as you kind of roll it from the side that you're going to be smoking from.
Kind of cone
it. Push that down a bit right there. And then keep kind of pinching and roll, pinch and roll. You want to make sure it's a perfect circle, perfect J. And this is pretty much the same thing for J's too. So if you don't know how to roll a J, learn with the hash roll.
Expensive way to learn, but
I was gonna say, ooh.
Every sesh group has that one bud that can roll a J, right? Has he attempted the hash hole? I don't know. I've been around cannabis for a long time. This is the first time I've ever seen it done. To tell you the truth.
I've seen so many crazy different things. I've just been around a lot of cannabis growing up, and my stepdad introduced me to a lot of things like this. Like I've smoked a hash hole, I've smoked cannagars. Do you know what a cannagar is?
Explain that to me.
So a cannagar will consist of flour packed and wax laid on top, and then sometimes it even has like sun bleached hemp leaves or cannabis leaves laid on top as the paper or as the wrap. They're beautiful. They're a delicacy. Like it takes so much intricacy, and then they get wrapped up with hemp cord.
Yeah, hemp cord.
And then there's like a skewer in the middle. And once you're ready to light it up, you take that skewer out, you light it up, and you roast the tip, and that skewer in the middle helps create airflow. And it's an experience, and they burn for a long time too.
The best ones here in New Mexico come from Jet, Adventures of Jet, and Dabro.
Mm-hmm.
The homies, they do absolute amazing work.
Yeah, Dabro has been the one that I've been exposed to a lot of his work. So Dabro was the one that I got his cannagar from, and then probably a hash hole from him too. So yeah, so this has been around for a while, but now hash holes are taking the
market by storm
yeah. in the legal market. So
got Cozy with Headspace and all that, doing
yeah.
all his work. Yeah.
We have a lot of people out here doing good stuff.
Hash holes.
So that's why it was cool to roll out a hash hole kit so people could do them at home.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Pretty much, y'all, after I finished, there was a little bit of green there at the end. Just kind of got the tip, pushed it in. I don't want to cram everything in because I don't want the snake to kind of compress. So even though it's a little messed up right here, there's an easy fix for that, especially for beginners. You aren't going to get a perfect roll every time. You just get another piece of paper. You tear off the glue.
It's called the Band-Aid.
And just fix it. Kind of give it a little lip. Got one side right there.
Quite the surgical procedure here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use your finger just to kind of wet it a little bit more and guide it.
Woo! If you can roll a J, but is one thing.
Now you have it airtight. Yeah.
And talk to me about the way, again, that you were explaining, being very mindful of the rosin inside as you rolled it. You didn't want to compress it, so you said?
Correct. So when I put the worm in here, if you end up pushing it, you might push it either out towards one of the sides, or it's going to leak towards like the paper, and you're going to end up getting like a runner. You don't want a runner on it. Those are easily fixable. You just kind of get the lighter and kind of fix it. Even throughout the process, I tend to kind of fix the runners. How you light it and how you smoke it also matters. So on this one, what I'm also going to do is after I finish rolling it, you kind of roll the tip, and then you pinch, you hold it lightly, and you push. And then that kind of makes like a little lip right here. And then you just kind of keep pinching the lip all the way around. And you kind of, as you're doing that, you push down the green that's right on top, and just pinch, pinch. And you're going to almost make like a little crown of just paper right here at the edge. So then you have your paper right here, your crown, and then You just
it's
no, it's okay. You pop the top.
Woo!
Interesting.
And it's nice and flat. And then you never, with any J, you never want to
Actually, look, this is
light it like that.
We just talked about the last podcast. We talked about it towards the end, and it was a little thing that I taught Joaquin at the end. And yeah, explain.
So one thing, I mean, you're going to ruin the flavor of any J that you do that to. You're going to throw butane throughout the whole J, and it's just not the process. And then, like I said, when you do that as well, you kind of throw the flame. The flame's going to get underneath. It's again on top. It's just you're going to create a runner from the start. So it's not going to burn properly. So even though we have the fan on over here, just kind of work with that. I'm going to roast the tip. So it does take just a little bit, but this process, it does make a difference. Just roast it for a little bit. You're going to start to see it's already turning.
So you want an even roast all around the tip, I'm assuming?
Correct. And you just create a nice little cherry.
This is cool.
And again, so the big take-home points here, right? You don't want to draw too hard. You don't want to draw during this point and suck in all of that lighter butane into the J and ruin the quality of the J.
And I know another tip or etiquette, I guess you could say, for hash bowls is while you're smoking it and passing it around, you want to keep the cherry up because you want that rosin to run down the joint rather than out of it.
Rotate your J's as well. Don't just leave it one side because, of course, the heat's just going to go up. You're just going to start burning one side of it. And always pass the Dutchie to the left-hand side.
To the left.
And so I'm holding it up. And other than that, don't draw too hard.
Yeah, take some nice little puffs and enjoy.
And voila.
Feel like Elon Musk. Hey, can I ash this thing?
No.
Another etiquette tip.
Let he or she who rolls it gets to ash it. With hash bowls, you don't want to actually ash it on the ashtray. You want to do a little flick when you've smoked about maybe a quarter of the hash bowl. And that's when you're going to actually see the donut.
So we'll get you guys a little bit of a close-up there on the donut. I hope everybody's inspired to go have a sesh, with all your buds. And whoever rolls that hash will make sure it has the finest technique like Omar. Obviously a seasoned veteran now that we're passing this thing around. Omar, let's talk a little bit more about you, man. How'd you end up at High Horse Cannabis Company? How'd you end up as our director of manufacturing? Let's talk about everything you do.
He's the joint guy. He's known as the joint guy. So it's only right to have him on the podcast.
So I actually knew Colt from before. So I followed him with all his advocacy for a while. That's kind of where it started. I saw that he was do High Horse, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to be part of that.
Where are you from?
El Paso. So, I mean, I still live in El Paso, so it's kind of cool living in Texas and being able to work in a legal market. So it's kind of interesting getting the opportunity here in New Mexico. Sure.
So, Colt, your stepdad, our director of retail operations, wish we could have him here today, but it's okay, totally okay.
He will be here soon and one of our next podcasts, for sure. But yeah, my stepdad did a lot, and he's had a huge impact on a lot of people who are part of the industry or even want to be part of the industry. So it's really common that we're going to hear that, people are with us because of Colt.
That's awesome. He's the Colt DeMorris.
Colt DeMorris, yes.
The founder of El Paso Normal, huge medical cannabis advocate in one of the toughest states to pull that off, guys. Texas, even if El Paso might be a little bit of a bluer side of Texas, doesn't matter. Texas is Texas. It is basically a felony to have a vape pen in your car when you're over there.
Edibles.
Right.
Anything that is extracted in Texas is a no-go.
And his big, mission is advocating for medicine there and making sure people, can eventually have more access.
Runners do happen, like I said, just kind of push it a little bit on the side. Yeah.
But a little bit more about you, Omar, and your experience here, in the cannabis industry. Granted, you had a little experience probably before coming into the legal market, and that's Totally understood. So you met Colt through just people and through events, or how did that exactly work?
Yeah, pretty much. And then I would go to a lot of the High Horse events as well. I started a little bit after they opened. I think they were open for about 2 months already before I actually started with High Horse. And even before then, I was already doing artistic J's. So I like doing just different things in the whole like cannabis community. J's would be one of them. So with the J's, I like doing like like figurines and stuff like that with
really?
joints. So I mean, it's a little different than the normal J's. Like I said, like shout out to like Jet and Dabro, all tied up. Those are like the homies I kind of looked up to getting into the game like that. So
it's pretty cool.
And so you started at High Horse. What was your plan? Now that you're the director of manufacturing, you started as a budtender, right?
Yeah,
He was my budtender.
I was a budtender, and then I ended up going. I was their concentrate. It is about to donut. Ended up being their concentrate specialist.
Let's talk about your position as a concentrate specialist.
So pretty much just getting to know all the different concentrates. I ended up working with botanics in their lab. That was a great thing. A lot of the butt cancer, like actual medicine, I actually helped make that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
So that medicine that's being distributed right now to our First 42 or anyone that's currently part of that butt cancer initiative or study, they're receiving the medicine that Omar worked on. So it's like a full circle.
What sort of things did you learn getting into the cannabis industry that you did not know before you got in?
I guess there was a lot of things that I learned. A lot of like different little things. It was just kind of cool learning. Like, I guess the thing I learned the most about is concentrates in like the actual process of making it, and the different washing, because it's not just washing for hash rosin. You also wash to do like distillate and RSO and stuff like that. It's just a different form of washing. And girl.
Someone's about to hit your back end. That's how you know it's working a little too good. Natural reaction from the roller.
Check out the donut.
Well, a lot to unpack there, because especially as most of us that are probably watching this podcast and that are in the cannabis industry saw the cannabis industry before it was legal, participated in some way or another, right? Whether consumer or not. You really do see a lot as now all of a sudden you end up being a cannabis advocate, a cannabis artiste, right? A cannabis, operator to a lot of degrees.
Or even just a host to events, because that's how a lot of us met even. Like, there was so many events in the Southwest for enthusiasts or connoisseurs, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But these events all kind of brought a lot of people together, and I have met so many people that way. Like Stoned Ape, we carry their chocolates as well. Stoned Ape, I met them at before they were even licensed, and I loved their products before they were licensed. And I think that's how we all started off, and it's cool to say that we came from, a not so great background, but that background has a great community also standing behind it. So,
and that's what I think is cool about the New Mexico cannabis industry, is really trying to create that culture there, to drive back that stigma, to give, second chances to people that, and not saying that you needed a second chance, but whatever, like people with drug charges, things that were dropped because of cannabis and things in the industry. Very cool for the state of New Mexico to open that up and open it up for, opportunities for you to grow up into the director of manufacturing. Now let's talk about what you do as the director of manufacturing.
Well, High Horse, we do have 3 different stores. So we, of course, have the one over here on Valley. We also have one on Main, and then we have one in Chaparral. Essentially, I'm in charge of getting all those stores stocked up with all your goodies. Besides that, I also accept all the product that we get, inspect it as best as I can, make sure you guys get the cleanest medicine possible. And then
you deal directly with a lot of the suppliers. Deal directly with the stores, keep the stores balanced and in check. Again, inventory management, guys, is a huge process there. On top of overseeing some of the actual manufacturing processes we do in-house, right? AKA pre-rolls and other packing, right? Let's talk about a little bit of that. I mean, it does take time to get product from, supplier to shelf, and you actually have to do that. That's what you coordinate on top of it.
Yeah, we have I guess, our own location that we do our manufacturing in, and we pretty much just break down everything. So we actually get our flour, like you said, directly from the producers, suppliers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we break it down for you all. We grind our own flour. Actually, I think we actually started doing a Jazz Club now. So Jazz Club is the one that's actually in charge of our pre-rolls. So they grind it down. It's whole flour. It's not shake. It's not trim. It's actual flour, and that's what we put in our pre-rolls for you all. Working on getting you all some Ace. So that's our next big thing, is getting a lot more Ace for you all. Y'all love Enchanted Botanicals, so we've been loving all their work. Matchbox has been another great one that we've been working with, so that's been nice. What else?
What other things do you see from that lens now that you've really graduated all the way from, budtender? Obviously, Bennett has her own come up story as well, but you've moved all the way up the ranks in what seems to be a short amount of time. But either way, you're a highly experienced, the right pick for the job kind of guy, and you've learned some things. How is it actually seeing an industry where all of a sudden what did you do for work before you came into cannabis?
So I've worked in restaurants, call centers, construction, just
so everything. How do you
exactly? Sounds like customer service and a little bit of everything.
And how did you envision cannabis taking shape in that? Because for everybody who was so behind the door, all of a sudden now you open it up to be some sort of retail commerce normalized thing, but it's not right away because we're still doing what we have to do.
It was kind of funny because since high school, I found out California was legal. I found out Colorado was legal, different things like that. And I was like, I'm gonna work in the legal market. And then everyone always made fun of it. It was nah, or pothead, stuff like that, stuff. Right. So it's just it's crazy how far things have actually come.
To fruition.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
To get to where you're at, you are outcome of all the choices you've ever made, and you've been very cannabis. Obviously, all three of us have been very cannabis heavy in those, which is pretty cool. I mean, so are the people that are watching this, and you guys are going to see other people in your life continue to maybe dabble in it, look for those medicinal access sort of tips and knowledge, and that's what our job is to make sure everybody can have that sort of empowerment, that sort of click, what made it click for you or whatever it is. People have to stand up for your right to have access, and we're still there. It's a big stigma. How about with your family? Was this a well accepted thing?
No.
No.
Yeah. So I guess with especially my mom, it was more she didn't want me in trouble and stuff like that. So
sensible.
Getting arrested a couple times, kind of, that was exactly what she didn't want. I guess growing up, I kind of just wanted a safe spot to kind of smoke, and they weren't willing to give me that because they just didn't want me smoking at all. So that kind of sucked. So of course that led to me getting arrested a couple times, and it's just I've never felt anything wrong with smoking weed, and I've always seen it as medicine. And like I said, seeing Colorado and California and how they move forward and all that, it was just well, if they can do that, well, why can't we do that here in Texas? And so I've just always been for the advocacy. So like I said, once I saw someone like Colt really standing up for everything, it was just well, yeah, that's why I want to do that. I want to still go in and be in the cannabis industry. I want to so I mean, I drive at least an hour a day to work. So I mean, that's just I want to be part of this. I really do want to be part of the cannabis industry.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about those arrests? What? Were you just caught with it and driving or something like that, or?
Yeah, pretty much. So the first time I got arrested, it was in high school. I had ditch class. I knew I probably shouldn't have, and I was just it's cool. It's just it was a 15-minute period before lunch that we just had to go to, and I was just nah, whatever. We went to some house that we stashed our stuff at, and apparently the cops were kind of watching it, and yeah, I got in trouble. They cops came from all sides. There was a couple groups of us actually that got in trouble. So it was me and my homie, and then it was another two groups that I guess also stashed their stuff around the same time. So they got caught down the streets, and we got caught at the house. And
oh wow!
So it was just a whole sting area, all the little potheads.
Sheesh.
And then
So you had to do time?
so that one they did like a first chance probation thing. I was almost in trouble with the school, but my dad, like he like made sure that they measured it. So like I guess it was like a 300 feet rule or something like that.
Yeah, there's usually
And like
300 feet.
he made sure like the officer went with the measuring tape and like did it from the school, and like it was just over the 300 feet. So they were like, all right, you can stay.
Wow.
I think that was like my freshman or sophomore year. And then I got arrested when I was like 18. I was driving. The officer said I didn't like. Well, yeah, I was driving fast. I tend to drive kind of fast. That's not a good thing in Texas. And when you have cannabis on you, don't break multiple laws at once.
Not a good idea.
But yeah, I got pulled over. That was pretty much it on that one. And then another time, I mean, like we said, I kind of did grow up black market. I was selling with one of my friends at the time, and I went to go pick up from him, and like to go like deliver. And then he's like, "Oh, let's just smoke this J on the way." And I was just like, "Just when I come back." When I come back, he's like, "Come on, let's just smoke it." And I was like, "All right, cool." Well, this retard like rolls up a king size that's like this big, and like this big, and like yeah, it just my bad.
No, it's okay.
It just we got pulled over, and yeah, it was terrible. It was a lot of weed.
Oh.
So okay, all right. Well, what were the charges?
Yeah,
So you just
all possessions.
Intent.
On the last one, we were trying to get like away with it, but we also had hash. So like they were like, well, if you accept the weed charge, we'll drop the hash charge. And I was just like, well, yeah, I'm down to not have a felony on my record. So yeah, all misdemeanors, everything under 2 ounces.
No, it's cool, and it's gonna be crazy to watch someday Texas have to forgive that. They literally will. So you guys are hearing our words right now. It's not today, but it's awesome to see that Omar has literally fought for every little bit of his opportunity to be here, and it's come a long way. This hash roll has been absolutely wonderful. We're enjoying it. We're kind of at the tail end of it, and glad we got to hear some good stories. I mean, guys, talk about. I mean, for whatever else you have been in that you are. Listening here, have you been locked up before? I actually got arrested, which is funny. We were pushing Pharmtrue products, CBD products from pharmacy to pharmacy. We're driving from, it was Clovis to Santa Fe, and I had a speeding ticket that I didn't know that it was unpaid, so I was speeding again. Boom, he pulled me out, and all of a sudden I'm getting arrested. I had a bunch of CBD in the car. But basically, I got booked for the weekend, stayed till like a Monday. I'm sitting there in like the Santa Fe jail, and I didn't realize. That's when I realized like the opioid problem, that. I mean, those guys are in there kicking in the, in the holding cell for, we were in there for like 2 days. There are guys that are just sitting there, just like waiting, opioid withdrawing, and they are just kicking that floor, about to take big, incredible amounts of number 2, called car batteries that clog up those toilets. And I mean, these guys are literally putting, Suboxone strips in their eyelids and like all kinds of stuff, ripping wires out of TV to be able to inject themselves. And they had some clever, crafty ways of, spread, opioid addiction and just the circulation of it all. Cannabis had nothing to do with any of that, guys. I mean, cannabis, that's where I was just wild. Like, wow, that's the real problem. And I saw that in jail, and Texas is finding all the wrong people right now for whatever reason. They're, picking on cannabis people. There's a lot of other things that are issues in Texas, big time. And fentanyl, opioids, such a big problem. Northern New Mexico is a mess. And down here, it's only going to get worse until, healing things like cannabis truly can be a thing of reckoning. But that was my lockup story. I just wanted to make sure I shared that while we're smoking this hash roll.
That's crazy. And while we're sharing stories,
mind blown.
I have never been in trouble. I have speeding tickets. That's it. That's it.
You got to keep a clean record.
But yeah, speeding and cannabis, no go. So you hear that 1, 2, and I have speeding tickets. But look at it, every time I have been clear and the safe. Whew.
It's quality medicine. And speaking of quality medicine, guys, our other product drop for the week, our Pharmtrue 1-to-1, 1-to-1-to-1s, and 500 milligram THC gummies all are dropping in a 500 milligram package here. It's 25 of the 20 milligram gummies for each respective strength. Definitely at the probably most competitive market price for a 500 milligram package of anything at $35 for the 500 milligrams of THC. It's actually, and I like the 25 count because some people that we've heard feel like the 10 gummies just feels like they're shorted on just the candy part. So we kind of wanted to have a little bit more of the candy part rather than making higher strength gummies so people can, have something to further dose. But if you want to do that heavier dose, you can kind of munch down a little more. Sorry, they're not sugar free, but for right now, I think the popular option is definitely to have, sugar on that sort of particular regard for gummies. I mean, someday I think you can see vegan lines and sugar-free lines and things like that, but we have to work with the masses right now, and the masses aren't even, fully adopted to cannabis yet, but great for medical grade, instances there when you're looking at one-to-ones, people getting those high dose competitive packaging, whole thing, 9 yards, kicking that thing off.
They're good. It made me want to keep eating them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to get down.
They do.
Don't tell me that. I'll eat the whole thing.
He's like, this is the sesh. This is the sesh. I mean, if you're at home, make sure you're seshing too.
Nice to have a little CBD in there with, probably all kinds of dose of THC that we just ingested there. But
yeah.
Well, rosin should be full, a little bit more on the full spectrum side, right?
Definitely.
Too? So I think that's going to create a lovely entourage effect, actually.
Love that. And actually, okay, we were talking about rosin before. I want to make sure you give us a little bit of your overview on rosin. So this is our Nero hash rosin that was in there, something that we do sell at High Horse Cannabis, produced by farmers, I believe, right?
Yeah, it is produced by farmers, and we have 2 deals on this, basically. We do have the BOGO deal. If you come into one of the shops and they do have it in stock, you can buy 2 of these, buy one, get one free. I'm not 100% accurate on the price right now. And then we do have the hash roll kit, which you saw that layout. That's what we smoked on. So come get some of that Nero.
Yeah.
What?
And what do you know about it?
Me?
It's watered hash or iced water hash rosin, or explain the process.
When it comes to rosin, it is going to be we don't use any sort of solvents unless you have that argument that water is a solvent, which I guess technically it is. But so pretty much it's trying to get as pure as possible with the flour or with our concentrate. We get the flour, we go ahead and, not us, this one ended up being farmers. They get the flour, they wash it, so they freeze the grain. As soon as, we actually helped on this one. This one we helped with PMC. PMC is actually the one that grew this flour. We helped them out. We cut down the plants and flash froze that for them.
Explain flash freeze? You literally just bag it and put it in the freezer, or what does that mean?
Basically.
Yeah. So pretty much either that or
do you have to trim it at all?
We used dry ice on that one.
Oh, dry ice.
Freeze it right away.
And then it
How
has
does that
to
work?
be as
Cannabis
soon as
touching the dry ice, or?
So it within the bags.
In the bags and everything.
But yeah, do we no trim, right? Because it has to be right after the plant is cut off. But if there was any trimming done right after the plant is cut off, you run the risk of putting chlorophyll all over the nugs.
So you have to manicure it before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you just get it, we chop it down, we freeze it, and then we took it to farmers. Farmers ended up creating this Nero for us. So it was we have the banana kush on that one. We have that one in jam form and in batter form. When it comes to the hash holes, you will get the batter form though. The jam is just a little bit too messy to work with, and especially if you're trying to learn to roll a hash hole, it's not the rosin to use. And
hash rosin from there, they just press it, right? Or
it's pressed. So you go ahead and you wash it. You ended up filtering it through different bags. They're different microns. So that's why you end up getting mixed micron, and then you also get just the different U's. So you a lot of times the most sought after is the 90 to 120 U.
What?
It's just the different terpenes that you actually get from it. It's just cleaner. It's just a different. I don't know how to fully explain that.
Okay, well, cool. No, thank you for sharing. This is more than I've ever even known.
Yeah, microns is a deep world of extracts, and it's not easy to explain.
Different strains have different to put it you can look at one strain and you can look at it and it can be like the frostiest nug ever, and then you wash it and it give you nothing, and then you can have some other one and you kind of be like, and then you wash it and it gives you a whole bunch of
good rosin.
Yeah, it's good rosin. So it's pretty crazy how rosin works and genetics works, and
washing.
There's a lot of Yeah, a lot of thought that goes into some of like these high end producers, and that's why you also see a lot of like GMO and like a lot of like different. You'll see a lot of different producers having like the same strains. It's because or different crosses with the same strains. It's because like one of those strains probably dumps a lot, or like produces a lot of hash.
Pretty cool.
Well, thanks. I mean, as our director of manufacturing, I love that you know every single thing about what you're buying and putting into the stores. I hope all of our, bud tenders and staff use you as the appropriate resource, when times are available. I know I'm sure you are out and about and very well resourced at all as all. I mean, so working with other suppliers and things like that, what do you like in the flow of, your job there? How do you think your relationships, how does that work for you?
It's cool. I love my team. My team is great. They help me out with anything I need. They're always taking care of everything. Working with all the different suppliers is really cool. Getting to know like the different people. Um, Everyone's different. Like I don't know. Like it's that never judge a book by its cover. Like some of the people that walk in, you're like, oh, you smoke weed? Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it's cool, and then you start talking to them, and you're like, yeah, I like you. Like it's cool. Like
That's cool. And a whole different lens there because the cannabis industry, guys, is still so early. I hope everybody truly keeps that in mind. But Bennett, take us now to the question overview. What do we got going on today?
So we do have a few questions. We have a question from Maine, and I think this is kind of appropriate since we have Omar on. They asked, is rosin strain specific?
So it can be strain specific, but it's not always strain specific. When it comes to that, it just depends on the producer, whoever is actually making it. So for the most part, I guess it does tend to be strain specific because you kind of just wash whatever flower it is, and then you of course get all that, you strain it, and then you press it. I feel like there are a lot of people or a lot of producers that also will use two different flowers at once, maybe. Say they didn't get as much yield with one, or they didn't get as many flowers with one, so they put two of them together, they wash them together, and then they press that together. That would be like something that's like mixed, and that would not be the same as mixed micron. Mixed micron is how they strain it, or like how like the different bags used, and like the different micron sizes. Um, so you can have like two different flowers, and it'll still be like 90 to 120 U if you like put that together instead of like a mixed micron, which tends to be like a 70 to like 140 or 90 to 140 or something along those lines, depending on the producer. Um,
Yeah.
That kind of covers it.
Yeah, I feel like that covers it too.
Hash rosin pens, sometimes they also will add terpenes to them. So like depending on like their nucleation process, they could lose terpenes in the actual process of turning it into like the cart. But and then some will like some producers will add the terpenes to it. So like you could have one strain, like a whole bunch of different like cartridges. My bad. All different cartridges.
We have to have our proper terminology in the
Yes.
industry.
It could be a whole bunch of different cartridges, the same strain but different. In a sense, I guess at that point it'd be flavors instead of different strains. Even though for the most part, when they do that with hash rosins, they do tend to be cannabis-derived terpenes, and then that is also a solventless process. I think to actually get terpenes, you boil them out, if I'm not mistaken.
So let's just say, for example, we typically carry Nero, we carry Oleo, we carry Botanics, and then in Botanics we carry the rosin, and we carry their Botanics pens. And all of those, is there anything that we might have that's strain specific? Maybe the Oleo, right? If we see it cross two different strains, that might be two indica strains in that sense, or like two sativa strains.
Oleos, some of them I feel are strain specific, but it also seems that some of them are crosses. I'm not sure if it's like I said, like washed together, and that's why you get something like I know in stores we have modded riri, and that's modded grapes and Rihanna. So I'm not sure if they actually grew that together and they ended up being. I like to go Sandia, so I'm not sure if I've seen that flower specifically. So I mean, if it's not like an actual flower that they have, I feel like they might be washing two different strains together, and that's why you get that Maririri kind of thing.
I agree, because I haven't seen a strain be that as well. And I've always wondered if it's a strain that's washed together, two strains washed together, or if it's a cross already before it's washed. So
maybe they're holding on the flower from us, but yeah, it could be something like where they wash two together.
Yeah, I've always wondered that. So, and then on the hash rosin pens, like our botanics pens, I think maybe that's where this question came from the budtenders. Would you say that they're not strain specific?
Botanics pens, I don't think they're all strain specific.
Okay.
They would be like added terpenes to those.
Got it. All right. Well, hopefully that answers some of the questions at me. Nice. And then we have another one from Chaparral. What is the proper method of making canna butter? And if I'm not mistaken, I think I've had your canna butter before. So, have you made it recently?
It's kind of like a simple process. It's not too hard of a process. So basically, you do need to go ahead and decarb whatever product you're using. So whether you're using...
Wait, decarb. 1 second. We have to... What is decarbing?
Okay.
Decarboxylation.
So that you're going to heat up your product to a certain temperature for a certain amount of time to activate the THC into THCA. The THCA into THC.
Yes. Got it. Bingo.
And that's what's going to be able to actually give you the effect that you want. Depending on how much product you use, what product you use, and the potency of your product will be the potency of your butter or oil. And yeah, so let me.
So what are the steps? So you decarb you guys decarb.
Yeah, so product? Decarb whatever it is. There are different decarb processes depending on what you're using. I guess the most popular would be like for butter would be flour. So if you want to use flour, I believe it's 220 degrees in the oven for maybe about 20 minutes. You just kind of get all your grain, grind it down, put it nice and flat on some foil, and then go ahead and put that in your oven. And then go ahead and let that bake a little bit. Once that bakes for a bit, go ahead and take that out.
Sound like my grandma. What's a bit? What's a bit? What's a little bit?
Bake for like 20 minutes. I said 20? Okay. At 220 for 20 minutes. My bad.
Good,
so
good. I'm like, what is a little bit?
Yeah, 220 minutes. Go ahead and take that out. You're going to go ahead and take all that flour and you're going to put it in a mason jar. In that mason jar, I believe it's like a cup, maybe 2 cups of butter, depending on how much you want to actually get back from it and how strong you want to eat, like how strong you want it. You get that, and then you put half a cup of water. The water is going to help with separation. And yeah, so pretty much you're going to get that mixture. Go ahead and kind of create like a double boiler. You just get a pot of hot water or boiling water and just keep it boiling with the mason jar in there. You're going to do that for maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Or if you want to just maybe like even less, just if you want to like be quick about it. And then yeah, that's pretty much almost the process. You're gonna get that mixture, take it out of the mason jar, strain it. Definitely use cheesecloth. So strainer, cheesecloth, you kind of dump it into like maybe like a Tupperware. The cheesecloth helps when you're like, so you're gonna get it and then you kind of twist it and then just strain as much of the butter out as you can. You definitely want to get as much of it as you can.
So the jar should have all the leftover flour in it, blocked by the cheesecloth.
Yeah, exactly. So the cheesecloth's gonna hold everything. Even that you can use to like sprinkle on some stuff if you really want to use that. It's up to you. It does taste spice. Like a little spice.
Nice. That sounds like a very highly potent batch there. How much cannabis did you say goes into that?
So it just depends. Usually anywhere from like an eighth to maybe an ounce, or it's just like I said, it depends on how strong you want your stuff. On that one, so then you get your mixture. Usually I put it in the Tupperware or silicone container, and then let it cool down for a little bit, and then put it in the fridge. That it does need to set for a few hours. Usually I just do it overnight, and then when you actually take it out, you're gonna see a separation of the water with all the stuff that you don't want in it, and then the butters will be on top. So that putting water in there is an important part because it helps with the separation, and that's one thing that a lot of people, I guess, don't know or don't do. Um, yeah, it's just one of those like little secret tips.
Secret tip.
And then try and use butter with a high fat percentage. So I tend to use like I guess like a English, Danish, I don't know, something.
The one
It's
with
like
the little Irish leaf.
Yeah,
I
that-
know which one you're talking about.
It's like a high fat. It literally has, like it says, high fat percentage. So like, yeah, use that one because that'll help the cannabinoids actually stick to the fat. And stronger butter, and it actually separates less. So when you do butter compared to, let's say, coconut oil, you're not really going to lose any, I guess, any volume from the oil. With butter, you're going to lose butter. So say you do like 2 cups of butter, you might only get back like, if you don't use like a good butter, you'll probably get back like a cup back. If you use like a good butter and like you put the water and everything, you'll probably get like a cup and a half back of butter. So there is like a drop in it, and then when you use the oils, like I said, yeah, you don't really like lose any oil. You just kind of strain it and you lose a little bit.
That's a process.
Quality recipe and some other tips on that. I mean, you can get some extraordinary good flour ounce for $100. I mean, 120 with tax ish. Great to experiment on something like canna butter, especially when it's like really good sun-grown outdoor flour.
Perfect. And then that's perfect if you're looking for the euphoria. If you're looking for pain relief, I would recommend doing the same process but with an FSO. So decarb your FSO, follow the same process, similar. And you can make your edibles or whatever you like to make on a usual basis with that oil, with your FSO, and include that regimen of FSO for relief. So there's different things that we can do.
I mean, that rosin would be just as good. I guess you theoretically could really pull it off with all of that sort of concept there. Cannabis, lipophilic, butter,
Right.
sucks it all out, heat and time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Poetry in motion.
Do what you will with all the products and deals we have at the shop. So, next question. What can frequent smokers or cannabis smokers do to clear out their lungs? What would you say?
Well, guys, I mean, frequent cannabis smokers, let's think a little bit about the cause of why your lungs may need to be cleared out. Are you also smoking nicotine? That'd be another question I do want to ask. Do you do anything there? Do you have seasonal allergies? Are you, asthmatic? Do those things happen? Or is there, COVID, RSV, or flu going around, right? As well. So there's a lot of different factors that could cause that. So maybe why you may want to clear out your lungs may be a decent reason to, take that next step in what you do. So again, if you're asthmatic, knowing that, smoking smokable cannabis is probably not the best thing to trigger your asthma, especially if you've got allergic asthma during the allergy season and pollen counts up and so on and so forth. Maybe that's not the best time for you to be doing straight smoke or something like that. Even a vapor could perhaps help with a vaporizer, but again, probably even taking some dose layering, going back a little bit on your smoking and trying to let your lungs just be what they need to be for that time would probably be the safest, pharmacist recommended approach there. And just being aware of what those triggers obviously might be in terms of loosening up phlegm in the lungs. If you have a cough or something like that, a dry cough or a productive cough, those are two different things. A productive cough is probably going to be the phlegm in the lungs kind of portion there. So you're going to want to use, Mucinex to clear it up. But again, if you want to try to maintain that over periods of time, like those with COPD, walking and other percussive activities, right? Even shaking out the lungs a little bit gives that mucus a little bit of a chance to move around. So we don't want to put people in a situation there where you're adding to the problem if the problem is due to one of these other causes. But that would be, I think, my kind of pharmacist evaluation over it in a big picture.
Yeah. And from there, evaluate what your perfect dose is. Sometimes smoking might not be ideal. It may be traditional, but it may not be ideal for you.
How do you like to self treat that?
So I actually don't smoke too much flower in general. I tend to kind of smoke a little bit more on the rosin side. I make sure I don't take hot dabs. And then when I'm sick, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard, so I don't really dab too much or smoke too much. I kind of, I guess, to kind of clear out the lungs. A lot of steam kind of helps actually like clear out the lungs, and then there's like a breathing exercise for you. Make sure your feet stay level, and then you kind of breathe in for let's say you breathe in for 5 seconds, then you have to like breathe out for 10 seconds. You double out the time, and you just kind of keep doing that with the steam, and um, eventually you're gonna end up like needing to cough. Once you end up needing to cough, just cough and let that mucus and whatever like it's a breathing exercise, and you're trying to get all that mucus or whatever it is out of your lungs, and like I guess like a breathing exercise kind of fix just to kind of help you out. Maybe it's like a day that you're a little extra on your lungs, but not like a permanent fix, but definitely something to
try out.
Yeah, to help with the lungs.
Other good points to add there with the steam. You could buy a humidifier for your room if you really wanted to. I mean, maybe a hot sauna, right? A wet sauna is not a bad place to create that, or the shower as well. Other places to catch that steam and get a little bit more, wetness into what may be a drier mucus-filled situation.
Yep. And I've also heard if you consume sea moss, sea moss can help be a decongestant. I've had it recommended for that, especially for cannabis users or even nicotine smokers. So if you're both, I recommend taking some sea moss, especially around flu season. It does contain zinc. It contains 92 different minerals and vitamins that our body does need. So it'll help out with multiple different things, and I do notice a difference when I don't have it in the coughing and my tolerance on like smoking flower. Yeah, my coughing can be a little more intense when I'm not taking CMOS. So yeah, those are some tips. We have recommendation tips, but other than that, make sure you get yourself checked out and find appropriate doses and appropriate cannabis consumptions for yourself.
That's a good point. And question on that CMOS, how do you take it? Is it a pill?
So a lot of times they do have like dehydrated versions of it that you can take in pills, but I think the best version of it is trying to take a recently fresh gel. They sell gel. Some of them can be unflavored, and it's almost like the consistency of applesauce. But then the unflavored ones are a little bit harder to, I guess,
stomach.
Yeah. So, but then there's flavored ones, and then from there, when they're flavored and they're flavored naturally with like dates or
strawberries,
monk fruit, strawberries, mango, things like that, those have additional properties to that. So it just adds to it being really good for your body overall. So I personally like that, and you just have to make sure you're getting your CMOS from like a trusted source. It has to be cleaned right. It has to be sourced right. It has to be fresh. And then it doesn't last super long. So you always want to get like your jars enough for like a week or two. So yeah, it's like
always good stuff to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it.
Yeah, definitely refrigerate it. Why do you laugh?
Because I forgot to refrigerate it the first time I bought it, and I just had it on the counter, and I was just like,
That's gross.
Safe supplement to keep in the shelves there, guys. CMOS, and yeah.
Natural.
Other than that, I mean, if you guys believe in vaccines, I'm definitely going to tell you get those, flu, COVID, RSV vaccines, pneumonia vaccines for everybody that smokes. Cannabis counts. Anybody 18 and above, if you haven't had a pneumonia vaccine and you inhale cannabis, you definitely are eligible for one before you turn the age 65. It's a great thing to prevent some really crappy pneumonia, which cannabis usually doesn't lead to. However, just get it done.
Last question. So I think we got this one from Chaparral as well. It says, what does it mean when someone greens out? And really quick before we dive into this one, the term greening out can be when someone either consumes too much cannabis, whether it be in the form of inhalation, in the form of smoking cannabis flower, smoking dabs, edibles, ingesting too much edibles, things of that sort, and getting sick. So being, stomach sick and having to throw up all the time, or having to be stuck on the bathroom, getting the spins, and things like that. And I think there is a set term for it, but what does it mean when someone greens out? So that's what it means. Yeah.
What's the slang term mean?
I think it means they're lightweight. I'm just kidding.
Kind of, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, everyone has their own tolerances, and some people are just getting into this whole like situation. It means they probably need some pepper, or they need some CBD, or they need
He's been taught well.
Yeah, I mean, take care of yourselves, y'all. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Don't go a whole day after like drinking or something like that, and then like you don't eat, you don't drink any water or anything, and then you're like there and you're like, all right, cool. Let me eat these 500 milligrams, whatever. Eat the whole like gummies, and then you end up like 30 minutes later, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have eaten those, and then like you smoke a little bit, and you're like, wait, this is making it worse. Like, don't do stuff like that. In general, stay hydrated, drink your water and stuff like that, because that's also a factor in stuff like paranoia and stuff like that. Make sure you're taking care of your body. If you take care of your body, you should be good. And like you are smoking, and then start off slow. Don't just like, I don't know, your homie that's been like smoking for like the past 3 years or taking edibles for the past whatever years, and then like you're like, oh yeah, let me have one, and then you're like, oh, these are good, and it's like, oh yeah, amount. Don't take the same amount. Start off slow, wait the 30-40 minutes, and then take it from there. Don't think you can take a big old glob because your homie took a big old glob. Just
Or don't serve big old globs because
I'm getting better at that. My bad.
He's guilty. He gives people dabs the size like.
If you want to be greened out, hit me up. I will probably green you out.
It's funny.
So that's awesome. Exactly. So if you're not starting low and going slow, then you're going to probably get greened out. That's, the number one take home point there, guys. I mean, and again, knowing the backups to what happens in that situation, we are happy that cannabis doesn't take lives by greening anybody out by any means, but
you're safe.
Something to be aware of. Does that cover us for questions?
Yeah, we're all done with our questions. We're all set.
All right, guys. Well, hope everybody has a good week. Enjoy the products. Enjoy all of your sessions for the rest of the week, and we will catch you next week. Omar, it's been a blast.